Hi, I am PixelPia, and today we are continuing our journey in Google Docs. Today we're going to talk about business letter. But before we look at the letter itself, let's shortly go over what parts should be included in a business letter. First, you have your address. That can be the address of you as a person, if you are a person writing, or of your company. Then we have the date, we have the recipient address. After that, some type of salutation. Then we have the introduction paragraph, which should include the purpose of your letter. Then we have the body paragraphs. This is where you develop the content of your letter, explain the purpose, and give some reasoning. Then we have a closing statement where you summarize what you have written in your letter, and then you have a complimentary closing. And you might even add an enclosure where you add links to other documents that can be relevant. But as I said, this is just a basic structure. So let's move over to my computer and take a look at a business letter. So here we have a made-up business letter. I didn't write this myself. I used GPT to just mock up a business letter for me. And as you can see, we have the parts I was talking about, but we will add some other parts. First, we have, as I said, the address of the person who wrote the letter. Then we usually have 2 empty lines, and then we have the date. I removed that date now so I can show you how you can insert date. Under Smart Ships, you have date. You also have people, file, calendar, event, and place. But we want a date. So I click date, and it's today's date, and I click OK. So there we have the date. And then we have the address, the company we are writing to. We have the salutation. And we have a subject line that explains what this is. And then we have all the body paragraphs at the end here, a conclusion. And we have yours sincerely. And then you write your name, title, who you are, and your contact information. And we have here an enclosure. I want to add a file. So we go on the Smart Ships again and say Files. In my shared folder on Google Drive, I have created a file I just called enclosure. And you can go in here and see I have it set up as share already with the link. And here I have all the folders I have in my Google Drive. So I can choose this enclosure and the file is in here. And if I hover over, you can see the file right there. So far, it's very basic. Of course, you can go in and change your font like we did in a personal letter. The most common fonts to use if it is a formal business less Times New Roman here. And the most common size is 12. But if you are sending this as an email, you might choose Arial instead, because it's usually easier to write the sans serif fonts on a computer. So it depends on how you are going to send this. If you are going to print it and send it as a regular mail, I would print it with Times New Roman. If you are going to send it as an email, I would use Arial and size 12. But as I said, there are more things we can do. For example, we can add a header here. So you scroll down to header and footer. In this case, we are just adding a header. And in the header, in this case, I want to add an image, a company logo. And as you see, this is very big. So I just click on it and then I can grab the corner and minimize it here. I can also go in under options here and choose header formats. I can also add text here. And if I click on the image now, I can set it to be wrap text around, top or bottom, go through, behind. So maybe I want the text underneath there. I can also under options remove my header. Another important thing to think about when you format your header is, especially in this case when it's more than one page. If I click on the options for the header again, I can add page number in the header or in the footer. And I usually put it in the footer. If it's, in this case, it's just 2 pages, so I let it show on the first page. If I have more than 2 pages, I usually, if I'm writing a report of some kind, I usually don't show it on the first page. But in this case, I will. So if we click outside of the header and the footer, and I put it in the footer, so it ends up down here. And of course, I can change the name, and I can decide where in my drive I want this to be. And I click move here. I can also, from here, email. So I write the email address, I write a message here, and I can choose to don't attach, to include the email itself. And now if I click send, and here I opened my account that I sent it to, and here we have it as an email, and it's also including the enclosure document here. So that is how you can write, format, and email business letter directly from your Google Docs. So that was how to write a business letter. In my next tutorial, we will write a school report, and using that to create a title page, how to set up headings and subheadings, how to create a table of contents, and how to insert images, captions, and footnotes. So if that is something that interests you, as always, make sure you are subscribed and hit that little bell so you get informed on when I upload. Until next time, bye!